Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Rolf Haltza of Job Stacking. This makes, I believe, his third appearance on the podcast, and we're honored to have him here again. Rolf, how's it going, man?
Hey, Vance, everything's going okay. Everything's going great, actually. And yeah, this is the third time, I believe, but we took a big break from the second time, that I came here to this one. The first two were like very, almost back to back. And this one, like it took a few years to get back together.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years, so there's a lot to cover. Even if we did them 6 months apart, there would be so much to cover.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we should probably start with what is job stacking for the uninitiated?
Okay, yeah. And so this is a good question because the definition has expanded a little bit since the beginning. So initially, job stacking was this, framework basically, or the idea that you could, thanks to remote work, you could work two jobs within the same 8-hour workday, right? So like you could, like the idea is like it's called job stacking because you stack, quote unquote, the jobs on like the 8-hour bucket, right? Because I mean, obviously, working multiple jobs like moonlighting, that's nothing new, right? Like I didn't invent the concept of working multiple jobs, but what's unique about job stacking is the idea that you're not supposed to work them in succession. So you're not supposed to work 12 hours or 16 hours. You're supposed to stack as many jobs as you can and then only work the normal 8 hours, the normal workday, right? And then it had the reason why I say it has expanded is because now it's more about treating employment like a business, right? Where you're always getting new clients, right? Like trying to even, subcontract the work out, right? And build this kind of like system where you are always like where you treat employment, right? Like a business, and you become a business owner where all you do is manage workers, right? And handle communications, right? Like you show up to meetings, you coordinate work, but you keep adding new clients, you keep growing revenue, you keep growing income. And so that's kind of like the advanced job stacking. But at its core is the simple idea that thanks to remote work and a certain number of practices and shifts in mentality, you can double your income without working more, right? By stacking, two jobs, stacking two paychecks.
Mm-hmm. Right, because at least for a couple of years, it was like a lot of these remote jobs were only 2-3 hours a day of work, and then you go, okay, if I have two jobs, now I'm only working 4 or 5 hours a day, type of thing.
But
I
making
feel
double,
like,
yeah.
so that was kind of the original part of the original idea.
That's right. And it still is like that at its core. That's what it is. It's like almost nobody works 8 hours a day, right? Even before the pandemic, even before remote work was, so widespread, employers were freaking out about people only working or being productive for 2 to 3 hours a day. And then the rest, it was like, because you were forced to be in the office, the rest was just like talking to coworkers, right? Like gossiping with coworkers, watching videos, taking walks through the building, right? And this was a huge scandal back then. But so and people could do nothing about it, right? Like it's like, obviously you're not going to ask for more work because you're not going to get paid, you're going to get paid the same at the end of the day. But with remote work, we can actually just, instead of wasting our time, right, and I don't know, like pretending to be working, right, like instead of expanding a task that could take 30 minutes into 3 hours, it's like, no, just add another job, like just add more tasks and get paid for it.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely revolutionary, and I highly recommend people go back to listen to the first episode because I think it's just funny how I'm like discovering it for the first time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
the J2, the J2.
Yeah.
And even like now and like my brothers and stuff, they're like, yo, the J2, the J3. And like, it's kind of like grown, man. It's jokes. So credit to you. I did actually have another sort of beginner question, which is
Mhm.
there's the other name, which is overemployment. And
Yeah.
there's kind of two definitions for roughly the same thing. Is it still just the two? Has anything new come up since we last talked in the past 2 years? Is there a new name for this at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I think overemployment obviously is the more widespread term. I don't like it. I think the term conveys the wrong idea, but it's definitely the most widespread, right? It's kind of like how the phenomenon is known for. But I mean, I think there's been like technical terms by like scientists, right? Like they call it multi-working or something like that. But I think job
It
stacking,
was
I
an
know,
economist term.
yeah, exactly. Like an econ, like multi-job or something like that, multi-working, multi-job. But it's really not. It's more like a scientific, like a technical term, not the name of a movement or even a business, right? Like like this idea, right? Like or a paradigm. It's just kind of like clinical terminology. So I'm not aware. I think job stacking and overemployment or overemployed are the two big ones, the two terms, right?
Okay, I was just wondering because like vibe coding became a thing, so now you could have like vibe jobbing or
Oh man, I have so many thoughts on like that concept of like automating your
the
work and that
clause,
sort of thing.
man, the open clause and the agents and how things are getting agentic and job stacking is kind of agentic in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah, we're going to cover some ground here today.
Buckle up. But
Exactly.
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Thought-
No, jump in, but yeah.
No, it's just that because I'm before the AI stuff, and even now, like my main job was automation, right? Like so, I work out creating automation, automation scripts. It's kind of like that thing where like you're skeptical of of the concept, like applying, bringing the concept home or like applying it to other things because, I mean, my main issue is that you can set something up, right? Like you can set like a claw up or like an agent, and it will work until something changes, and then you have to maintain it, and that it becomes kind of like a full time job keeping up the maintenance, like updating things. So I think a lot of people like I think the concept is interesting, and I think it can be leveraged into the vibe jobbing, like the vibe jobbing, like maybe make your like your jobs easier so you can stack more jobs, right? But I think it can. A lot of people are going to be surprised about the maintenance costs to keep it up, right? Because in automation, for instance, in my line of work, um, writing an automation script is very easy, right? Like you just write it, you should like you pull it, and that's it, right? But then if anything changes in the UI or something, like they change a button, which happens in tech all the time, they're changing stuff, even if you don't see it in the back end, right? Like they're changing stuff all the time. You have to go in and you have to fix the script, right? So I've always been concerned with the automation stuff, or the agent stuff. That if things go okay, like if like if you automate the golden path or something like that, and it works very good. It works very well. But as soon as something changes, then you are like stuck there trying to make it work again. And so like sometimes I'm not sure what the return on investment is. Like I keep going back and forth, right? I prefer like low tech solutions most of the time, like a little bit more reliable. We can get into that a little bit later. Because one of the things that has changed about job stacking is this idea of scaling past 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, right? 5 jobs, 7 jobs, whatever. How do you scale that, right? Like how do you manage the workload? And obviously you need to have like a subcontracting strategy, but how do you handle that? And again, I didn't invent the subcontracting stuff. I believe like Tim Ferriss was talking about the virtual assistants and stuff. I have my own twist on it. um, but it's like it's a very interesting topic on return on investment, right? Like when is it worth it, right? And I've gone back and forth because, for instance, I've gone to a point where I had like 11 jobs and I was subcontracting all of them, but then because I was subcontracting, I wasn't getting as much money from them as I could. So is it more profitable to just have 3 jobs? You work them yourself. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you can tell that so many things have changed. Like so many things have happened since we last spoke, and that I can just go on like infinite tangents if you don't stop me. So you got to stop me,
Totally.
man.
I probably have to inquire about the 11 jobs. I've heard this before, so like
Yeah,
for me, it's almost like I'm used to it because we're
yeah,
because we're friends. But for the audience, they're probably like they would be mad if I just like kept going with the conversation without double clicking on that. So how
yeah.
does one have 11 jobs at the same time?
Yeah. So the thing is that you in a sense you don't because the workload is impossible, right? Like if you or it's not sustainable, right? Like you can have 11 contracts at a given one day, but you're not going to have them a month later, right? So what happened is this, right? So I was testing the limits of job stacking years ago. So this happened back in like 2022, and I was able to work or get to 7 jobs by myself. So this is when I was not subcontracting anything. I was just stacking the jobs myself. I got up to 7 jobs, and it drove me crazy, right? Like it drove me insane because what I discovered is that after a certain point, and after a certain amount of jobs, let's put it like that, um, the amount of meetings is just unmanageable. There are too many meetings. And the thing about meetings and calls is that they're productivity and attention killers.
Yeah.
I call them like they're like bombs, basically. So, for instance, this call, I'm having a lot of fun on this call talking to you, but this call has like a blast radius where I had to prepare
Right.
for it, right? Like I had to be, look at the clock, see, look at the time, see, like, all right, so it's like 5 minutes before the call. So it's like my attention, even before I joined the call with you, was,
Right.
focused
The
on
before and after.
exactly
Yeah.
before and after. There's a blast radius. So what happens is that all these jobs, they're scheduling their normal calls. That if you're expected to only have one job, the calls may be reasonable for that particular job. But when you go past 3 jobs in particular, that's what I found. Like consistently, when you go to 4, 5, the amount of meetings is just too much. And so it becomes kind of like your job is either being in meetings or doing tasks. And so the problem is that for most jobs, you're expected to do both. You're expected to be in meetings and complete your tasks. But when you have too many meetings, you really don't have the mental energy to go and then complete the tasks. So I completely like the 7 job experiment. It was a complete failure. Like, or I mean, failure in the sense that I couldn't keep the 7 jobs for long. But I learned that lesson, so I was like, all right. So next time, so I went down to 3 jobs. So I lost 4. I got fired from 4 jobs. So, I've gotten fired from more jobs than people have worked their entire lives, right? And so I was like, all right. So if I'm next time when I go up beyond 3 jobs, I'm gonna just hand them out to somebody. I'm gonna give the task. I'm gonna handle meetings. I'm gonna do like a partition, like a division of labor here. I handle meetings. Somebody else handles tasks. So that arrangement has been very profitable, has been very manageable, because now I no longer have to worry about completing the task. I can be like an executive who is in calls, right, all day, but then I'm not expected to do low level work, right? Like I don't expect, or I don't have to do low level tasks because somebody else does them for me. And so that's why I said that when this shift happened, that's when the definition of job stacking expanded a little bit to be this. Well, oh, actually, if you do this and you keep adding jobs and you keep hiring people, now you're a business owner. Basically, that's what you become. So like now you're
Yeah.
treating employment like a business. You kind of have like your own informal business running where you just take on more clients, more jobs, and you just hire people to do the work, and then you just are in meetings and you coordinate the work between the contractors and subcontractors. So that's basically what happened. So with that framework, I was able to get up to 11 jobs and manage them, very consistently, sustainably. The thing about employment, right, is that nobody's safe, right? Like you can get, you can be laid off at any point for any reason, but it wasn't like. So when I lost a job, one of the 11s for one of the, J11, right? Like J10, right? Like when I lost J10 or something like that, it wasn't because I was fired for, low performance or something like that. I was just like, oh, layoff, like something happened, like let me bring in a new one. And so you can scale it up past like the capacity that you have to create a network of people that can provide labor to you. And so yeah, so that's where we're at this moment. that's, that's where just job stacking is, like advanced job stacking, I call it.
Hmm. And are you now just teaching this to other people, or are you also jobs? You're still job stacking today?
I'm still job stacking today, and I have this thing where I job stacking is so good and so efficient that I sometimes question my own business. Sometimes I go like, man, should I just like get rid of the business of teaching, like coaching people that about this and just focus on job stacking and that's it? Because it's really so much better. Like it's so much better, it's so much more consistent than running a business. But of course, with the business, you have like the asymmetric payout and that sort of thing. So I'll keep running it, right? Like I'll keep running it. Um, but I'm still job stacking myself. So like something very important, something that I tell people is that my main source of income is the thing that I teach others how to do. Like my main source of income is not courses or that sort of thing, right? Like,
Right, right.
like,
And so the reason I ask is because job hunting is
mhm.
changing, getting jobs is changing. We're
Oh
no
yeah,
longer in the heyday of like 2021, 2022, where you could, they were just handing out remote
they were
jobs,
handing down
basically.
jobs. Yes.
Um, so it's quite different now, which I definitely want to dig into how the nature of job hunting is changing. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so that's a big one. So that's one of the probably the biggest pain point for most people at the moment, which is that getting a job or the process of job hunting has become incredibly obnoxious, incredibly what's the word uh, it just hits people
Humiliation ritual.
psychologically. Yeah. Humiliation ritual. It really makes people feel bad. Like it really discourages them. They feel like it hits your sanity basically and your time, and it just feels incredibly labor in intense. It feels like pointless in a sense, like the job hunting process for many, and the traditional job hunting process. And the reason is that the market, it's not that companies are not hiring. Like that's what people think, that it's like there's no hiring going on or something like that, or they think that all the jobs have been shipped to India or something like that. And I don't want to detract from that sort of reality. But companies are still hiring. There's new companies, showing up. Mid-sized players, smaller players, right? There's still like hiring going on. The problem is that the pipeline, the connections, right? Like the pipelines that connected candidates with employers, right, or recruiters are completely broken because of two main reasons, like, or the main culprit is AI, right? Like the basically AI has allowed everybody to become a spammer, right? Like to everybody to become a spammer. I know, for instance, there are programs out there for job hunting that promise people like 2,000 job applications, right, or something like that, so, per month, or maybe per quarter or something like that. That's an insane number. Like that's just spam. That's worthless, right? So the issue is that there's this inherent inefficiency in how the job market is set up, or was set up in the beginning. So I've written about this before, and I've talked about it. Maybe I don't talk about it enough, but I have in the past. So the thing that happened is that with the job market, or like if you think about a normal market, right? Like you have two kind of entities. You have buyers and you have sellers, right? Like simplifying it a little bit. Buyers, by their nature, they have money, right? And they're in the market to like spend that money, right? Like sometimes they know what they want, sometimes they don't know what they want, and they buy things on impulse, right? But the idea is that the buyer is not selling stuff; they are the ones with the money. They're the ones buying stuff. Then the seller does not necessarily have money, but they have stuff, commodities, like wares to sell, right? And what they do is that they need to grab the attention of the buyer, right? Like the sellers want the money that the buyers have, and so they have to get their attention and convince them to buy from them and not one of their competitors, or even to convince them that what their product, what they're selling, is something that the buyer wants or needs, right? So this is a normal market, right? Like if you think about, like, I don't know, like imagine like a traditional open air market. Like imagine you're like in Baghdad in the 12th century or something. You're stepping into the bazaar or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
and like you imagine what happens, right? Like the sellers are like, hey, selling lamps, I'm selling rugs, I'm selling this, that, selling peaches, etc. Like it's the sellers that are the ones doing, yelling and not doing marketing basically. So what I'm getting at is that like marketing exists for the sellers to position their products in the market, right? What you don't do, like what doesn't happen traditionally, right, is the buyers go into the market and yell, hey guys, I have money to spend. I'm rich, I have money, sell me stuff, right? Like, because if the buyer would do that, what would happen? What do you think would happen? You step into a market like right now. You go to Delhi, right? And you yell.
Yeah,
You
I
step
know.
into a
So
market
there's
and you
these
yell, "I
buyers
have
and
money."
sellers markets, but the job market, I guess you're saying, is a seller's market.
No, no, no,
So
no. That's
so
not
it's
what
a
I'm getting
market.
at.
It's a market where the employer is obviously power.
Exactly, exactly. So what I'm getting at is that employers, beyond that, like it's not even that the employers are in the position of power. I'm saying that in the job market, the roles are reversed. The buyers, who are the employers, behave like sellers, and the sellers, who are the employees or the candidate job seekers, behave like buyers. So what I mean by that is that employers are the ones that market the fact that they have money, right? Like who posts a job, right? Like who are the ones that are saying like, "Hey, I'm hiring." Like I'm hiring.
Yeah,
Send me your resume. Send me your.
companies with money.
Except the people with money, like employers, literally buy people. They're the ones with money.
Yeah,
Everybody, and so everybody wants what they offer, which is at the end is money, right? And so this is the big
yeah.
drama of like, like why do you want a job, right? Like the typical question in the interview: why do you want this job? Oh man, because I need money. Like you have money, and you're offering to give it to me or to give it
Yeah.
to somebody. You might as well give
Because
it to
I'm
me.
broke, motherfucker.
Yeah, well, because I'm broke, bitch. That's why you need the job. And so employers have money. Employers have something that everybody wants, which is money, right? Obviously, you have to do the job to get it, but at the end of the day, is money, right? But they're the ones that are behave. They're the ones that behave like sellers. They're the ones that pay to have their listing advertised and put in people's faces, right? And so now, and candidates and job seekers behave like they're the sellers, right? Like because you're supposed to sell your skills, right? Like you're selling your labor, your skills, your time, right, to a potential buyer. But job seekers behave like buyers. They casually stroll into the market, send vague and faint signals of interest, like, oh, you're hiring. Let me send you a resume. Let's see if we can do business, right? Like it's kind of like very casually strolling through the market when it's like, no, dude, like you're the seller. You have to actively market your skills, right? You're supposed to be selling your brand, quote unquote, or your product, which in your case is you, right? Now, the big problem with the job market is that the roles of seller and buyer are reversed, and so this creates a series of stupid inefficiencies, right? Like it's like it makes it a little bit retarded the way it works. Now, it wasn't that big of a deal when uh, the like things were more local and more restrained, right? Even with the internet, right? Like so, for instance, if you had a local business, right, that would still behave in this way, that where the roles would be reversed, it was manageable because by virtue of the geographic and communication limits, they got a reasonable number of candidates, right? They got a reasonable number of candidates that it was manageable, right? But then guess what? Here comes the internet, so now the neighborhood is way bigger. So now you start getting, if before, right, if you were a local business, right, and before you got like 10 applicants per job listing, now with the internet you get 50, right? Like with the internet, like just imagine 2002, you get 50, right? Like now, all right, so you get 50, then you start getting 100, and so what happened is that now with AI, now you get 1,000, right? Like now every job listing, 500 applicants, 1,000 applicants immediately, like instantly, right? It's just there, and so employers just don't have the time. They're not, like your application is kind of worthless, right? Like because nobody's actually going through it because there's so much competition, and there's so much competition because employers are advertising that they have money, and people are signaling their interest, like, hey, you have money, I want your money. Okay, so what happens is then what do you have to do then, right? In a crowded market, right? Or in a market, like if you think of yourself as what do sellers do, right? Like they have to engage in marketing. Okay, so this is another problem. So there's two inefficiencies. The one that I already explained. The two the roles are reversed. I don't know if you have any questions about that, or if you let me continue my
Keep going.
my.
Keep going.
Okay. So there's this. Here comes the second one. All right, compounding the problems, compounding the stupidity. Um, in a normal market, again, like normal market, like the market for coaching services online, right? Coaching services, right? Career coaching. Let's use my line of work here, my business, career coaching. In a normal market, right? If I have a career coaching business and I want to market it, right? There's this principle called the seven. I forget the specific name, but it's like this marketing heuristic that says that before somebody buys from you, they have to be exposed to your product 7 times, at least 7 times. Now, the seven stuff is like kind of like a made up number, right? Like it could be fewer times, it could be more times, right? But the point is that usually people don't buy a product or a service that they've only seen once, right? Like they've only been exposed to once. Like usually people don't buy like the first time they hear about something, right? So you need to kind of be constantly have exposure, right? Like constantly have people interacting or have your product in the, like show up. What's the expression? Like have your product be exposed, like have the clients or the leads, right? Like have the market exposed to your product, right? And so that's why we have advertisement, right? That's why even though everybody is supposed to know Coca-Cola or McDonald's, right? Like these big companies, big consumer companies, they are still running ads. They still have billboards, right? It's because they need that consistent exposure to get more clients, right? Because let's say that you're like stuck in the highway, stuck in traffic, right? And you're a little bit hungry and you're thinking about, the food that you're going to eat. And then you see a McDonald's billboard, right? Oh, maybe you weren't thinking specifically about McDonald's, but now the billboard has connected you to what they sell, and so you're going to go, oh, I want McDonald's, so you'll go over there, right? And that sale may not have happened if the billboard was not there. So anyway, this is all to say, like, this is all a very long-winded explanation to say that in a normal market, if you want to sell, you gotta have exposure, right? Like you gotta have multiple, like your clients or your leads or the people of the market has to see your thing multiple times, your offer, your
So
product.
you're saying
Times.
that that people, job seekers, are not advertising themselves enough, or they need to
Right.
do more?
I'm going beyond that. I'm saying that the job market is set up to prevent this. All right. So what I mean by this is, again, think about McDonald's again. They're going to use a billboard. They're going to use a TV commercial, a radio commercial. They're going to do advertisement online. They're going to go to Facebook and they're going to pay to have ads running on Facebook, right? Or Instagram or whatever, right? On YouTube, right? Multiple, like the idea is to have as many channels, to cover as many channels as possible, in as many ways as possible, so that more people see your message, right? More people are exposed to your message. The job market is designed to prevent this very thing. You're only supposed to apply to one job at one company once. There's no, hey, let me submit my resume once, let me submit it again, let me submit it again, let me submit it to this recruiter. The job market is so inefficient that it actively destroys the avenues and the pipelines, or does not produce the tools so that the sellers, quote unquote, the employees, the job seekers, get consistent and continued exposure, so that the clients, right, like their potential clients, the employers, the buyers, can see their work and can hire them, right? So what happens is that job applications are going to zero. So, or actually, let me use this analogy, right? So it's like, if your goal is to drink a glass of water, right? You go to you go to like you take the pitcher, right? Like, or you go to a filter, you go to the water filter, right? And you pour the water in, right? And so like there's multiple drops that go into the same glass, right? And then the glass is full, you drink it, okay? But if your goal is to drink a glass of water, you're never going to reach that, you're never going to accomplish that goal if what you keep doing is like take one glass of water, take one drop, then take another glass of water, one drop, another glass of water, one drop. The drops are not compounding into getting you the goal that you're trying to reach, which is drink a glass of water, right? So this is the same idea in marketing. It's like you need multiple drops, or all the drops, to go into the same container, into the same glass, so that the person can finally drink it. And so what the job market does, and this is what volume does, right? Like this is what all the services that advertise volume, like, hey, we'll do a bajillion applications on your behalf. Yeah. What they're saying is like, what they're actually doing is taking a million glasses and just pouring one drop of water in there and getting another glass and dropping another drop of water. They're never filling the glass, right? Because what you need is for the same people to see your stuff, to see your resume, to see your work, to see you multiple times, like the same people, the same company, the same recruiter, multiple times, in order for them to kind of like, oh, this guy's good, let me hire this guy, right? Makes sense? So applications, so the big shift that has happened over the past 2 years or year and a half is that job applications are worthless. Job applications are basically zero. I say that they're still not at zero, but by the time this show is edited and published, Um, I'm pretty confident that's going to be zero, right? Um, it's just like it's just not an efficient way to get exposed, right? Like it's not a good marketing tool because again, imagine if you were running a business and you were constrained to showing your stuff, to showing your ads only once. Like you could only send one ad per person. That's crazy. Like
Yeah.
no business would
Okay,
be able
like
to.
I mean, even at the micro level, this makes sense. Like I have guys that reach out to me and say, "Hey, can I help you with my Latin life?" And
Mhm,
if they only do it once, like I kind of forget. If they hit
mhm.
me up like every couple months or whatever,
Exactly.
I remember the guy and chance.
Exactly. And so
You're saying that works even for Fortune 500 now?
what? Sorry, say that again.
So like, and then on the opposite side of the spectrum from like a small business would be like a Fortune 500. You're saying like small, medium, large businesses, for all businesses, just apply multiple times, basically.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like they do not allow you to apply multiple times. Like even like
Mhm.
even the job boards, right? Like Indeed, LinkedIn. Once you apply to a job, that's it. Like you cannot reapply, right? Like or that's it. Like the pipeline is not configured to have
Well,
more.
you can DM the HR
Exactly. But
people
so
or
okay.
something
So,
like
so
that.
exactly. So that's a good point. So that's what a different avenue of exposure would be. Like you send the job application, and then what do? You are not allowed to send the job application again. You're supposed to find the recruiters but even then, like that's frowned upon, quote unquote. Like recruiters will tell you that they don't like that, even though it's not necessarily true. Not all of them. Like some of them appreciate it, but it's like you're not supposed to do that. Like you're supposed to apply. Like that's not the official pathway, right? And so there's more things that you could do, right? Like there's more exposure, right? Like you could, or actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Like solving this issue is what I've been solving for the past year, basically. Like trying to come up with a solution to the fact that, the job market is, like I said, like set up very inefficiently. It's set up to basically, I mean, employers benefit and they don't at the same time. Like they have, it's still inefficient in a way for them, but it's a good problem for them to have, right? Because we need, like you as a worker, right? Like you as a wage laborer, you need your monthly paycheck to survive, to pay your rent, right? And if you don't get it, like it gets very difficult for you, right? Like if you don't have the money to pay for your service, for your rent and for your services stuff, it gets really difficult for you. Whereas an employer, if they don't hire the guy right away or something, it's like, yeah, they're not getting maybe the result that they want, but the business is not going to collapse, right? Like they're just going to offboard the responsibilities of the guy on other coworkers, right? Or they don't need the best guy in the market to do the job. They just need like the right guy. Like they just need like a guy, right? And so there's an asymmetry there where we need the paycheck more than they need us, right? And so, even though it is a problem so the current situation is a problem for recruiters or for employers because they have to they have to waste a lot of time trying to hire somebody, where it could be easier, right? Like if there was a better, a more efficient a matching system, right? But at the end of the day, their business is still going to make millions of dollars, right? They can just tell people, they can just, hire somebody when they need, like if it takes months, it takes months, right? Like like I said, like it's not going to bring the business down, and if anything, they just make other workers work more while they hire the new person, right? And so what I mean by this is that this is a problem that is very difficult to solve because the big players in the market that have the money, which are the employers, they're not really uncomfortable, right? And so like all the big solutions, for instance, all the ATS. So for instance, I talk about this as well. For
They
instance, you
have
take
less
the
urgency.
what?
They have less urgency.
They have less urgency, right? And they have the money and less urgency, so they don't feel the pain as much. So that's what happens, right? So things don't get resolved, and that's why everybody that tries to, that's in the space, like reverse recruiters or anybody that's kind of like in the job, getting people jobs line of work, right? That's why you see that everybody just defaults to applications. All right, so like more applications, five, versus like 100 applications, then 1,000 applications, then 5,000 applications. But if you understand the principle of what I just spoke about with the drops in the glass of water, again, this does not work. Like increasing volume does not work. There has to be an alternative solution that is not just sending more applications. Because if it was 5,000 applications to the same person, where like the same recruiter sees your resume 5,000 times, sure, that would get you hired. That would get you hired, right? But that's not what's happening. It's like the recruit, you sent out 5,000 applications. sometimes it's equal to sending zero applications if they don't even see it, right? Like if you don't even get that one exposure. And even if they do see your resume, it's like you're one of five, 100, 1,000, right? So why? There's no distinguishing factor. There's no reason to hire you in particular. So it's a lot, like when you do volume, when you focus on applications, it's like a casino. You're basically just playing numbers, right? Like it's just luck. Like, oh, lucky enough to have the recruiter seeing your resume at the right time, and you went through the pipeline at the right time. Nobody got ahead of you, and you got the job, right? So focusing, so I gave up, or like I mean, I still do job applications for people, right? Like I still offer that service because in a way people expect it. It's still needed. It's still an avenue, right? Like it's still, it will get somebody at some point a job, but the solution cannot be more volume, more applications. Like everybody's just like optimize your resume even further. Like there's like it's over. Like that's not the solution. Like the problem is intrinsic to the job market, and so we have to do something to correct how the job market operates. And when I say the job market, I mean the structure of the market. I'm not saying like companies are not hiring. And so I've gone to, so in my opinion, the solution, and that's something that I'm working on right now, that I'm preparing, that I almost have, fully ready running, is that we're going to move towards the Hollywood model, where you have talent agencies working actually for the talent, for the worker,
Mm.
and actively pushing, getting exposure, right? Like getting the client exposure. Like, hey, Vance is a great computer scientist. Hire Vance. Like that sort of like outreach, like active outreach, not just, oh, I sent out an application once and called it, and maybe emailed the recruiter once and called it a day.
Yes.
You need like active PR.
Talent.
Yeah, like a talent, like when talent I mean, there are talent agencies right now
Isn't
in
that
employment, but
basically what a recruiter
no, because
is?
the
Because they
recruiter works.
pretend.
Exactly. The recruiter works for the employer. Like that's their client. They
Do they
don't work for the.
always? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no.
I mean, there's reverse recruiters. There's people that work for
But they're
the
kind of
the.
independent though, where the recruiter, like
Mhm.
there's internal recruiters and then there's external, right? And the
Yeah.
external, they're kind of like a middleman, and they approach employers and they say, hey, I have like a roster of
Uh huh.
guys, so they're kind of already doing that, but
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 the
they're
client,
not.
but their client is the company, right? The company pays them to place the person. But
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
this idea of the reverse
Right.
recruiter, where they do, in theory, represent that. So what I'm saying is, or they
Uh,
do represent or try to land the person a job,
because
working
people
with
are
the
willing
person.
to pay for jobs, like as
Yeah.
long as they. Anyway, so okay, I want to make things pretty actionable because we're kind of landing the plane a little bit
Yeah. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
philosophy stuff. So for the how is the average person applying today, and what are they doing wrong, and what should they ideally be doing?
Okay, so that's a very good question. Okay, so the average, so it depends. There are levels to this. So if you are just like a guy that's sending a job application, right, or just sending job applications and that's it, you're having a very bad time. Like you're not having a good time at the moment. That's where you see people like, oh, I've sent 600 applications and heard nothing, right? Like got no results. Okay, if you're doing something extra, like for instance, like sending an application and maybe emailing the recruiter, or the hiring manager, you are having more success. Like you're doing things a little bit better. You get more exposure, as a tying it back to the theory and the philosophy, right? But the main error I see is, again, focusing too much on the act of applying, like giving too much value to the numbers of applications that you've sent, right? Because, like I explained, numbers in job applications do not behave the same way as numbers or volume in normal marketing or in normal markets, right? Like in normal areas, right? Like for instance, if you buy an ad on Facebook, right? Like they show the how much people it's going to reach, right? And so you can do some sort of like math that. So that's the other thing. Like, and I encounter that in some calls that I have with people, where they're thinking that there's some sort of like algorithm where, like, if you send X number of applications, you should get y percentage of interviews. Sorry. Oh, I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you.
Oh, my bad, I was on mute. Okay,
Hmm.
so let me put it to you this way. So when I haven't done like a full
Hmm.
job push in a couple of years now, but
Yeah.
when I used to do them, I would like to consider myself pretty good at them. And what I
Yeah.
used to do was I would do quite a lot of LinkedIn easy apply,
Hmm.
like maybe like 100 a day easy applies on LinkedIn. And
Hmm.
then maybe like, I don't know, 5 to 10 like targeted
Yeah.
applications.
Hmm.
And then I had a couple other hacks where um, that were similar to easy apply. So, but anyway, so it'd be like a blend of doing easy apply by hand and
Hmm.
direct targeted applications. The direct targeted applications usually they would take quite long, right? It'd be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
maybe 15 minutes per, and some of them you'd start and you'd be like, oh my god, this is way too long, and then you just
It's way
give
too
up,
long. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
it'd be
Yeah.
like it'd be like this like eight slider
Yeah.
application. uh you know what I'm talking about, but
Of course. Of
but
course.
I actually found that I got most of my jobs through it. They ended up being the easy applies for the most part. That's probably
Yes.
changed. I'm sure
Yeah.
LinkedIn's terrible now, but so that's what I
Yeah.
used to do.
Uh huh.
What should I be like if I'm just trying to get a software developer job in
Okay.
2026, QA analyst job, whatever?
Yeah.
What should I be doing? Should I even touch easy apply?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of course. I mean, depends. Again, like I said, what I want to prevent is people thinking that they have to increase volume, and that volume is everything, and it's a numbers game. It's not a numbers game in employment. Okay, uh, so
Hmm.
what I'd say that you have to do now, and so what you did. What you said, I mean, what you just explained was our approach to getting people jobs, right? To help people with their jobs. I mean, we land them the jobs. What am we don't help people land jobs. We land them the jobs in the job stacking mentorship. But that's part of what we did. We would send applications. We would reach out to the recruiter. Like have targeted, like not focus on volume, but focus on quality, right? Very targeted, very specific. Good matches, high effort applications, right? Like that we still do that. Like we still offer that. But right now, the name of the game is LinkedIn. So people shit on LinkedIn all the
Is
time.
it still?
Yes, yes, but not the easy apply. So people shit on LinkedIn all the time because yeah, it's cringe and it's a blah 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 corporate brain, and it's full of AI posts because AI writes like
Mhm.
LinkedIn. Like says, AI is very very congruent with how you're supposed to express yourself on LinkedIn. But the thing is that LinkedIn um, is the employment social network that like it is the place where you're supposed to have your work history there, and um, so it has gained this kind of like central, this preeminent role now, where if you're not on LinkedIn, it's almost like you don't exist. So the strategy right now is, and I don't want to give too much away of my secret sauce here, of my secret game, but it's basically having a really optimized LinkedIn profile. And when I say optimize, I mean everything from how the presentation looks to settings of like reach out, like open to work, like how to set up open to work, right? How many connections you have, right? Like sending connections, like being active on the algorithm, right? So the key right now is being findable, right? Like having like SEO on LinkedIn,
Discoverability.
discoverability, right? Like discoverability, because what's happening is that, all right, so this is the other part of the equation. Everything that I just explained, that I went on this long rant, right? Like this long tangent on the inefficiencies of the job market. What happens is that recruiters know about them, right? And so they're not the recruiters are not going through 1,000 resumes, right? Like they're not looking at your resume. What they're doing, and they don't trust people. So there's other things like with AI, right? Like now people can just whip up a bunch of resumes with a bunch of skills like misrepresentation. There's even like North Korean spies, right? Like people, with
Dude,
James.
everything must be at least a little bit misrepresented these days.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but it's like it's crazy now. Like the amount of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
the
like
vol.
fully fake applicants.
Exactly,
Right, that's the
exactly.
thing. Yeah, and so you got to avoid the like a lot of these are fake jobs on LinkedIn that they're
Yeah,
just trying to scrape your information,
yeah,
basically.
yep. They're
They,
just data retrieval operations. Like they're just
and
so
I think the answer to that is just like you can sort of tell, but like, or I don't
sometimes
know.
you can't. Sometimes you can't because
Yeah,
employers have gotten better. Sometimes you don't know. Because, for instance, one of the big tells of ghost jobs is if the job had been open for a very long time, right? And so, like, if a job is open for like
right.
90
More than
days.
more
Oh,
than yeah.
exactly, exactly.
It's more
But
than 90
now,
days.
yeah, I mean, 90 days is an exaggeration. Really, it's more like
Yeah.
more than 30, right? Like an
Right.
employer
Right.
shouldn't take 30 days to
Right.
fill
Because
up a
they'll
position right
close
now.
it and then
Exactly,
use the
exactly.
5,000 applicants.
Exactly, exactly. But employers know that now. So what they do is they close it and they reopen it. And so like it could always look fresh. It could always be like, oh,
Yeah.
it's yeah, yeah, you know.
They probably
So
have to pay again, but
yeah, yeah, but they know like they do it to avoid to get resumes because they know people have
right.
gotten wise to their tricks, right? Um, so the thing about LinkedIn, going back to LinkedIn, so it's not LinkedIn that you do the easy apply and you optimize the easy apply stuff. It's about the discoverability. Why is discoverability on LinkedIn important? Because of what we just discussed, that recruiters are not don't trust resumes. They don't, it's kind of like cold traffic. Like now everything is spam, cold
Right.
traffic. Do you trust a cold
Right.
email that you got out of the blue? Not necessarily, right? Um, so recruiters are hiring from their networks, like from people they trust. And so there's
Right. Right.
actually this phenomenon. Let me just finish my thought. I'll let you jump in a second. But there's this idea or this phenomenon that's happening that is rehiring former employees. So it has always happened. Like companies are always rehiring all people that work for them.
Mm.
Um, but it's on record numbers now, like record levels of rehiring former employees. And
Really?
so this is all part of the same phenomenon that's happening. That is that recruiters they are not willing to spend their time on, if they don't have to, on people that they don't trust, that it's not on their networks of trust, right? But sometimes they have to. Sometimes they have to go outside their networks. Most of the time, actually, I would say they have to go outside their networks, right? And that's when they use LinkedIn. They search for people, right? Like they search for match skills, right, and experience, right, certain job parameters on LinkedIn, right? And so if you don't look good, if you are not showing up in those searches, so now it's kind of like, that's why I say marketing, right? Like that's why I say the future of job hunting is having PR firms or marketing agencies working on behalf of the job seeker, because now it's like, well, now you got to behave like a business. Like if your business does not show up on Google, right, like years ago, right, like if you were not ranking on the first page of Google, you were losing a ton of business. Like nobody clicked on the second page or third page, right? So now this is happening to employment, where if you're not in the first, let's say, 5 pages, right, of LinkedIn, of when a recruiter searches for a candidate, right, you're invisible, right? Like, but if you do show up, you're having a great time. You're having Recruiters are
What
emailing
do you
you
mean
all
when
the
they search
time.
for a candidate? They're searching like AI
Yeah.
engineer or whatever. Like they're
Yeah, yeah,
searching.
yeah. Like for instance, like if they want to search like a data engineer or something, they will be provided a list of skills or tools,
Yeah, yeah.
right,
And
that
then
they
they
need
just
to
have
search.
a search bar like
Yes,
JavaScript.
yes. So LinkedIn. So there's this thing called LinkedIn Recruiter. There's this thing called LinkedIn Recruiter that allows recruiters to search candidates. And so you have to rank in there. Basically, LinkedIn has to show your profile for the particular role that you are trying to get a job for. LinkedIn has to show you. You have to rank there. You have to be present when the recruiter does the search. Your profile has to be there, and if it's not there, you're gonna have it's not that you're not gonna get a job, it's that you're gonna have a very bad time getting a job. And if it
Getting
does
the
show in there,
interview, right?
right? Yeah, exactly. That's for the interview. So they reach out.
Yeah, it's like because we could be breaking down like each one of these individual steps, like getting the interview, passing the
Yeah.
technical test, whatever. But I'm just actually shocked to hear that just grinding on LinkedIn in 2026 is still the way to go.
It's actually the future. It's
Eh!
actually the and it's
Oh
not
my
only that
god!
it works, or like it still works, it's like it's the thing that works the best. And so when I say grinding, I don't mean like I don't necessarily mean that you have to be posting there every day or something like that. But if you're nice to the LinkedIn algorithm, or the LinkedIn algorithm likes you, they think that you're a trustworthy person, right? Because it's the thing. Like, let's say that you have good keyword search, right? Like you have a good list of skills, but
Yeah,
you have zero connections, and there's another guy, or zero connections, or like you don't use LinkedIn, right? Like it's like a very new profile that's not been warmed up. It's not ranking on the like, well, I already spoiled it. Like you're not ranking well, right? You could have a very good list of, like, it looks good. Like if you hand out somebody the link to your LinkedIn profile, it may look good, right? But that's not your profile's not going to come up when the search happens, when the recruiter is doing the search. And somebody that may have like a similar matching keywords and stuff, but they have 500 connections and they're posting on LinkedIn and they are paying for LinkedIn Premium. Guess who LinkedIn is going to show to the recruiter doing the search for that particular role? It's going to be that other person. So,
You know what
so
I find
yeah.
interesting about this is that I thought that we would be almost like because what this is like the
Mhm.
LinkedIn grind on LinkedIn route is like it's like the slaughterhouse, right? Or it's
Yeah.
like the meat grinder.
Hmm.
So I thought that we were gonna be like avoiding the meat grinder by say, I don't know, like looking for alumni from our university or like doing like project or like I don't know, just like different non meat grinder things or
Well, I'd say it depends. So it's not necessarily the meat grinder because this is what is it? Like inbound, right? So this is like the passive approach where you are getting contacted by recruiters, and all you did was have a nice profile and maybe like do the specific steps that make LinkedIn. Like your profile and show it up to people when they do searches, right? So in a sense, it's not the grindhouse. The grinding happens with job applications when you're sending out job applications and you're sending the emails to the recruiter and you're sending cover letters. If you're just getting DMs from recruiters saying like, "Hey, baby, I like your profile. Want to get
yeah,
together?"
we're looking for an AI engineer.
Exactly. If you get recruiters sliding into your DMs, right? That's passive. Like
Right.
that's like you're doing better. Like you did all the legwork in the beginning, right? Like maybe you do a little bit of maintenance job, which is like you tell ChatGPT to give you, you have like an idea, and you give ChatGPT the idea and tell it like, hey, give me a LinkedIn post about this, and you just post the thing once a week or something, right? Like just to keep the algo alive. That's it. Like that's completely different from the volume, from the actual grinding of like the volume game and like sending the job application, keeping track and reaching out to the recruiter and seeing how keeping track of if they reached out or not.
Got it.
Why LinkedIn? It's because LinkedIn just became by default, right? Like the central platform where everybody just uploaded their work history, right? And the other thing is that accounts on LinkedIn are personal. And there's some verification process, or like there's still fake accounts on LinkedIn, but it's not like anon accounts on Twitter, right? Like where it's like just full of anonymous accounts, or like how you could have an anonymous account on Facebook back in
Mhm.
2007, that sort of thing. LinkedIn from the beginning was tied to a specific identity, right? Like to your name, to your picture, right? And so by default, just by surviving, like it just kind of like became the central hub for employment in the on the internet. And so now it's like you got to be there, or again, I'm not saying that you're not going to get a job if you're not in there. I don't want people in the comments saying like, "Oh, I got a job without a LinkedIn." Yeah, that's possible, but uh, the few, the farther we go into the future, the harder it's going to be for you to land a job if you don't exist on LinkedIn, if you're not ranking on
Okay.
searches on LinkedIn for your particular position.
Okay, I like that. I want to switch gears because I wanted to talk about salaries. I wanted to
Okay.
talk about salaries before we got out of here. I don't know how much time you have because we kind of hit the hour mark. But if you have
Hmm.
another 15-30 minutes,
I do.
um, woo!
Yeah. I was
Okay,
actually, by the way, I was actually on a work call at the same time as this. I forgot, like, on Wednesdays, we have the big sprint. And on one of my jobs, we have the big sprint, the sprint ends and that sort of thing. And so, like, I was monitoring the second call in case they called my name. But
bro,
hey, job stacking.
it's miraculous that this call got conducted on the first scheduling.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was almost sure we were going to have to reschedule because of the stacking. Okay, so salaries. I think the disparity in salaries among
Hmm.
white collar workers has grown significantly. I would think
So, what do you mean by
maybe.
that?
So now you have AI developers making $1 million a year.
Okay.
You have people on the upper bounds in San Francisco and New York and certain places
Hmm.
making 3, 4, 500K pretty regularly, right?
Hmm.
This has kind of always been the case, or at least like when at least for the past 10, 15 years, like even when I graduated 10, whatever years ago, if you went to Silicon Valley, you could get like a roughly 250, 300K job, like all in with the comp and equity and RSUs or whatever. But I feel like the range is higher, and it's really all about positioning. Hopefully,
Hmm.
this will like accidentally put us back to LinkedIn, but it's really maybe it's all about positioning. Where like I feel like the difference between getting like a 80K remote job versus a 150 or 200 or 300 400K remote job, it's it's very nuanced with the positioning or like what you're willing to accept and a little bit of just getting lucky. What are your thoughts on salaries and like where are we right now? Like what is an average remote salary or what do you try? Is it a lot of questions there, but
Yeah, that's interesting. So the thing about salaries is there's always been a certain disparity depending on like if you were on a very specific field that is popping off, as the kids say, right? Like that's very popular, and there's a lot of demands, right? So it's like it's always the balance between an employer or like the distinction between an employer's market and an employee's market, right? And usually, if you are able to command higher compensation, higher salaries, more competitive benefits, pay, that sort of thing, it's because you are, like the employees tend to have more power than the employers, right? So what's happening is that there's a lot of, like because of the AI hype, which I mean, I don't know how. I don't know how warranted it is, right? But let's not get into that. But because it's such in high demand, it's such a new field and so technically demanding from what I've seen. Obviously, the pool of candidates is very limited, and a lot of other jobs they're just kind of like the grinder, right? Like there's just a lot of it's very competitive, or like they have there's a lot of people that could do the jobs, right? Like you have 5,000 applications, right? Applicants, or I should say, yeah, you have 5,000 applicants or something. So it's easier to just depress wages, right? And that gets us into the whole like immigration debate as well, and the whole thing of shipping jobs, outsourcing jobs, right? So the easier it is to do that, the more to stay competitive. Let's put it like that. People are working to people are willing to work for less, right? And so, but I'd say though that to keep things into perspective, because I'm the job stacking guy, is that precisely job stacking was born to fix this in the sense of like, well, I cannot force a company to pay me more if they're just not willing to do it, and there's somebody that's willing to take the job that I pass on. The job that I pass on for less, right? So the thing about job stacking is that you don't almost don't within reason you don't have to care about the individual salary or compensation of a particular job, because if you want to make 100K and your particular field is only paying 50K, well, guess what? Just stack two jobs. Yeah, like just stack, just work two jobs and now you're making 100K. You want to make 150, you stack three jobs, right? And so, in a sense, I always tell people, or in a sense, like individual compensation from jobs don't matter if you exist within the job stacking paradigm, where you just see jobs, employers, or yeah, jobs as clients, as just as sources of money, and you're not supposed to get married to the job, right?
so I
But something.
understand the idea of don't worry about any one job, like think about your
Mhm,
total comp as a job stacker. But
mhm.
think about like maximizing every individual job where there are like to live in California, you need to make 250K or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then just using that as like a baseline and being like, look, like I'm only going to take like 250K jobs or like,
Well, that's the thing,
I,
right? Like, depends. It depends on can you afford to wait, right? Like, so like the higher the pay that you request, so it's an equation, supply and demand, right? Like the higher the pay that you request on the field, on depending on how competitive the field is, right? It's going to take longer to get a job, and there's obviously, for instance. You can take that to zero, right? Like there are zero chances that you land a job with particular compensation requirements, because, for instance, nobody's going to pay you $250,000 a year to be a data entry guy, right? Or like to be a virtual assistant, right? Like those jobs, people can just pay somebody in the Philippines, $4 an hour. And so nobody, if you're just like, I want to be and this is the kind of like, like the thing with the fast food workers, right? Like the service workers, where it's like, they stay there, right? And the jobs are very demanding of their time and energy. But there comes a point where McDonald's is just not capable of charging $200 for a burger so that they can pay $100,000 to the guy that does the fries, So supply and demand, in a sense, like, like that constricts those requirements a lot. So like I say, it depends on how much, how comfortable you are waiting to land that perfect opportunity. I've never been comfortable, right? Like I always want to have income flowing. That doesn't mean that I'm desperate for any job. Like that's why I say within reason. But like I said, like part of the pressures in my life that led to job stacking was the fact like, hey, if I need more money, it's just way easier to land a job where I don't have to optimize the pay because it's not my only job, right? So that's the thing, right? Like,
Right.
so people over focus on compensation because in the traditional employment model, that's the only income you're going to have, right? So it has to be as high as possible, right? It's worth risking losing the offer to get as much money as you can, right, from them. But with job stacking, it's like, listen, just secure the bag. Like it's way more profitable to secure the offer. Do not negotiate. Like it's better to negotiate remote. So that's another thing, right? Like instead of negotiating salary, negotiate more remote days because with more remote days, you can stack more jobs, you can make more money, right? So I think people, I think focusing. So and we can talk about this. Like the full-time paradigm, full-time employment is going away. Like it's just dying. I've been calling this for years as well. It makes no sense. Like it's just an arrangement that serves nobody. Like employers don't like it. It's too costly for them. Like for instance, benefits. So recently, big companies have been rolling back benefits like PTO and leave, right? Like parental leave, that sort of
Dental
thing.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Uh huh. Uh huh. And they're also rolling back. Some of them are rolling back 401k matches, and it's like, of course, why? Why? I mean, that's logical. Why offer these benefits when they have a bunch of people desperate to get the jobs, right? And they know employers know that they're not really fostering loyalty. They don't need to foster loyalty because they can just churn employees. They can just churn people, and there's always going to be more people that want to do, want to get the jobs because employers have money. You have the money, right? Or they have the money, and so employment benefits are going to be rolled back, right? Like it's going to be little by little, and then it's just going to become normal that benefits are just not a thing anymore. If employers are going to pay people more, that remains to be seen. I don't think so. So it's kind of like a downward spiral. Of Unfortunately, employers are too powerful. I don't know what it would take for them to have less power, but the only way, the most efficient way to fight back is like again either sidestep the system and you start your own business, right? But that carries complications of its own. Or you job stack, right? Like if you're gonna still, work for somebody else, like you might as well do not get married to that employer. Stack the jobs. But so like again, full time employment is going away because the more. So let's put it like this. So there is a pull. There is a back and forth, right? So the more employers make unprofitable, like working for them unprofitable or unpalatable, right? The more employees are just going to say, like, listen, all right, I'll work for you for the pitiful amount that you're offering, right? No benefits, but you have to give me one concession. I can work other jobs, right? Like you cannot demand exclusive. So that's the thing, right? Like the less employers offer, they still feel entitled to demand more and more, but there's a back and pull, right? Like a back and forth, right? Eventually, employers are going to realize, like, well, actually, if I just offer people the flexibility to work remotely and work other jobs in the open, basically stack jobs openly, I can get access to a lot of talent that I wouldn't. I can still cover the needs of the business, right? And I don't really need a guy to be married to me 8 hours a day every day, right? And then I have to kind of like have the pressure of taking care of them. So let's just go to this arrangement where I just pay you for your specific labor. You're free to get other jobs. You're free to get other clients and employees, right? Like candidates, right? Like job seekers, employees, yeah, workers. Are going to be happy to take that deal because then they can get, they can, uh, you know, move their compensation up and down according to what they need or according to their time, right? Like according to their personal preference, right? Like, hey, you want to, you want to make more money, you stack more jobs. You want to make less money, you want to optimize for your freedom, you work less jobs, right? Or you work fewer jobs. And so that's what's happening. Like that's the future of employment. This is going to happen within the next 10 years. Full-time employment is just going to go away. Like employers, the shittier employers treat people, the less their demands make sense, right? Like so eventually this idea of exclusivity, but I don't give you any benefits and the pay is shit. It doesn't even cover your bills. Everybody's going to be like, "Hey dude, like my bill you're not even covering my bills, right?"
Yeah, the dynamic sort of where there's like this, there shouldn't be, but there is a comparison to cost of living,
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you encourage that or discourage that because there's this idea where companies say, "Oh, we'll pay you less if you live in a different geography." Well, they say like, "Okay, you're a Texas employee, you get paid 20% less because there's a lower cost of living." Do you fight against that and say, "Look, my geography doesn't matter. It's all about the value that I'm providing, yada yada," or do you take cost of living into consideration?
Um, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure I follow your question. You're saying like cost of living. I mean, so the issue with cost of living is that the current employment arrangement is that you don't get paid. The employer does not is not obligated to cover your bills, like to pay you enough so that your bills are covered. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
no, yeah. There's a couple questions related to like sometimes they'd be like, well, where are you based? Because like if
mm,
you're sort of registered to our Massachusetts
yeah.
office, you get one salary. If you're registered to our Texas office,
Oh,
you get a
I see what you
different
mean.
salary. And so that's like one thing that's like a manifestation of this.
Yeah, exactly. They're just gonna, like I said, like full time employment is too rigid and too costly, like in general, and so it's just better to have that flexibility. And it kind of sucks that if you live in a lower cost of living place, you would earn less. But it's like at the end, it's like how much do you take home? Like that's really like it's not the number that matters. It's like how much do you take home, and that's another calculation that people I believe they don't make a lot of the times. They don't realize that what matters is how much is still in your bank account at the end of the month after you've paid all your bills. So it doesn't matter the cost of living. Like if you earn less, like I think that's a reality as well. That's why people in San Francisco, like in the Bay Area, have always or like recently, like in the last few decades, earned a lot more, right? Because it's
So let me ask this a different way, or let me approach this from a different
uh-huh.
direction, which is I think most people are like way underpaid because
Everybody's chronically underpaid.
like if you
Everybody.
it's like if you have 50 clients that come to you and you just look at it, you're like, it's like, hey man, what's going on? It's like, oh, I'm like whatever, I work remote, I'm project manager, whatever, making like 60K. And you're like, what the hell are you doing making 60K, dude? Like you can't
Yeah,
even why are you making so little money? You need to
yeah,
like most people are kind of underpaid and they've gotten comfortable, or what happens is you get a job and then you stop applying and your
uh-huh,
ears not to the job market. That's one of the problems, but
yeah.
it's like most people are kind of underpaid. Where should people be? Like where should an American be, or like with to put a number on it?
It's just very difficult to say. It's because it's the market makers are employers, right? And like I have this maxim that I say like employers have no ethics or morals; they only have legal limits, right? And so look at all the everything that happens when a state tries to like wants to raise minimum wage, right? It's like by law now employers are going to have to pay X amount, right? And so like it's always a big fuss, like oh we can't do it, like at the end of the day they raise costs, right? Like they raise prices and they're able to comply. But I'm not saying that minimum wage. I'm not saying that I fully agree with hiking minimum wage or that sort of thing. But all the time, or that there aren't arguments against it. But the problem is precisely that because it's just a structural thing, man. Like you're gonna get me to go on another like 30-minute rant here because it's related to the nature of what employers and businesses have turned business to be, or like what they have made it out to be, which is business is about what, Vance? When you hear like a
Making money.
business, exactly the purpose of a business is to make money, right? So this is not true. Like a business has a social function, right? It mediates a lot more things than just making money. But the businesses themselves, the employers,
I've read my Milton Friedman.
yeah, exactly. So the pro market, the pro business guys, right, like and employers themselves, businesses themselves, they have reduced their role and their responsibilities to only making money, right? And so you see this all the time, like, oh, my responsibilities to my shareholders, right? And so the thing about employment, right, is that because the business is about making money, employment is a cost, like, or the cost of employment, right? Payroll, right? Payroll is a cost of doing business. Guess what? They want to keep it as low as possible, right? Like you want to reduce costs, maximize profits, right? And so one of the ways they do this, or they have achieved this structurally, is by making employment about like divorcing compensation from standard of living. So what I mean by this is that traditionally, historically, wage labor had to cover certain basics, right? It was tied to certain basic necessities of the wage laborer, right? So um, what happened is that now employment, it's not tied to any of your necessities, right? Like your employer does not pay rent. Like they tell you like, oh, your rent is too high, you can't afford it with this salary. What do they tell you? They don't tell you, let me pay for your rent, let me let me increase your salary so that you don't have to move. Like what they tell you is like, move, get a cheaper place, you know. Oh, your commute is too long or like too expensive, move, do something. Like you are the one. So employers are not responsible, right? Even though they make huge demands on your time and energy, right? They make incredibly demanding or demanding demands. Like they make incredibly onerous demands on people's times, right? Like where the purpose of employment, the figure of full-time employment, this is why I'm saying it's going away, is that you're supposed to get married. It's kind of like a marriage in the sense that like you give up as an employee your right to do business with other businesses, right? Like to go work for somebody else, right? And you give your services, you render your services exclusively to the employer, but the employer is going to take care of you, right? Like the employer is responsible for you. You are dependent on the employer. Employers have defected on this responsibility, and they have made now it's strictly transactional, right? So they pay you, you agree to get paid to provide X services, and the pay is simply tied. The pay is this abstract agreement, this abstract number for providing X amount of hours or X or services, etc. Right? And so what happens is that cost of living keeps rising, but wages do not, because the wage is not tied to anything other than the whims of the employer, right? Like the original agreement, right? So there's this sleight of hand where your work, right, like your pay now does not pay for anything in your life, right? Like you have to also be very efficient with your expenses, right? Like you have to taking that into account. Like you have to be like your own administrator, business administrator, while the employer does not care about it. Like the employer, like, oh, your raise went, your rent went up. I don't care. Like I still pay you the same because I'm not paying your rent. I'm paying you to provide X amount of services, right, for X amount of time, right? Oh, but it turns out that you providing those services and that time prevents you from making more money to pay for your rent. Guess what? Not my problem. My business is about making money, right? And so that's the problem structurally with wages, right? And compensation today in full-time employment, which is that the number is just a number that works for the employer and not for the employee. The employer is not responsible for like like for instance, and they don't do that. They don't do that with anybody else, right? Like if an employer is dealing with a vendor, right? Another business that is providing services, or like a vendor like Microsoft, right? Microsoft names their price. Like the employer does not, my business, I don't get to tell Google how much they charge me for Gmail, right? Google says like, this is what works for me, this is what covers you using, the cost of you using our services, right? And we get to profit from it. You as an employee, you're not expected to profit from your employer. You're not even expected to survive on the wages of your employer. The wage is completely divorced from anything real. It's just like an arbitrary number that somebody that you agree to when you sign the contract. So it's a moral outrage, dude. Like it's just like, that's why I say like it can't go on. Like in full-time employment, employers have accumulated too many advantages. They have too much power. And they give out, they're so one-sided that somebody's gonna completely drop the agreement. Like, and we're already doing it, right? Like we're already doing it. Employees, job stacking is becoming more popular. It's more common. And so employers will eventually just go like, oh, okay, this works. Like, because I, like this works as well. Like, as long as I'm getting, if the point of employment is to provide some services, specific services or some outcomes. Oh, if I still get those outcomes, then whatever, I'm fine. Like, yeah, that's okay. I don't know. Like, sorry for the long rant. Just, you can tell I'm very passionate about the subject of employment.
Yeah, totally. It's really interesting to hear all these perspectives. So we'll get to wrapping up in like
Mhm,
less than 10 minutes to
mhm.
get you out of here by the half hour mark. Where are we right now in the sort of the job market cycle compared to 2022? Are things, because some people think it's going bad, some people think it's going good. Where really are we, and where and what's the future look like?
So I mean, I think I've spoken about this extensively, right? So I'd say it depends on the sector of the economy where you're in, right? So anybody that, for instance, anybody that has a job that can be stackable and has demand is going to do well. So for instance, data engineers right now, or machine learning guys, right? Like the AI engineers, that sort of thing, they're doing well. And so any any field where there's not enough supply of workers and employers have to make a little bit of effort to get somebody, they're gonna do well. Again, like those the two big examples that I just spoke about for now.
And so
uh,
is this what you do with your clients is like maybe they're not positioning themselves
right.
towards like the
Yes.
hot thing. And so
Yeah.
it could be as simple as just sort of spit shining and changing from like JavaScript developer to AI developer and just sort of changing the wording or adding
Within reason.
security. Yeah, like cyber, just like start
Yeah.
saying cybersecurity developer, even though you're kind of not, you're like a normal developer, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We do that. So that's one of the things that we do is we help, like we've become kind of like a little bit specialized in helping people pivot careers because the job stacking philosophy is just like a job, like careers are over. Like you don't have to have a career. All you need is secure employment, secure paycheck, get next paycheck, right? Like get the next source of the next paycheck. So yeah, we do that. Like we help people basically pivot careers within reason. So, for instance, I don't think everybody is able, for different reasons, could be like patience, right? Especially temperamental, right? Like you don't have the patience, for instance, to be a coder, right? Or it's very hard to the basic skills to pass an interview, right? But many jobs with just focus on practicing interviews, right? Like people are able to pivot between them, right? Like it's there's a lot of overlapping experience. There's a lot of overlapping or easy to grasp new skills that that you can acquire, right? And so yeah, so we try to not necessarily. So I'm very careful of treating everybody, like giving personalized treatment to everybody, and not just push them through the same funnel or through the same, give them cookie cutter stuff of like, oh, this is the, like everybody has to become a data engineer now, everybody has to become a project manager now, everybody has to become an AI engineer now. That's not possible with many people. Many people don't have the patience, the background, right? Like to do
Well, the
that,
thing is
or
with
the time
like within IT, it's pretty easy to like rebrand
to
yourself.
move. Yeah, exactly, exactly,
If you're an IT guy, it's pretty easy to be
exactly,
like, okay, cloud's hot, I'm a cloud guy.
exactly, exactly,
Data's
exactly.
hot, I'm a data guy. Like, so
Exactly,
it's
exactly,
pretty easy just, and
exactly.
so
But
I guess,
I'm not gonna exactly no. But I'm not gonna tell a trucker, hey, let's teach you how to
no,
code,
obviously,
right?
obviously. But within IT, I guess the idea is like,
Yeah,
position yourself towards the hot thing. Okay,
exactly.
this is a question. I guess it maybe should have been one of the first questions. I guess it'll kind of be the last question. Is that job stacking is not just for IT, right? People are
No.
implementing this with sales jobs and different things. What's the split? What's the future? Is there going to be a future for technical and non-technical job stacking? Is one working better than another?
Yeah. So I definitely job stacking, and that this has been a good thing for my business and a bad thing because sometimes I can't give specific messages. People ask me how much I'm going to be making. And I go, well, it depends on the job, right? Like depends on what you're going to stack, right? Um, but I'd say tech IT. So the things that are impacted now by AI, it's that all the people that were doing like web development, right? Like working on web apps and mobile development, that sort of thing. That's because too many people got funneled into that on the learn how to code, that sort of thing, and all the projects they went into that. But technical jobs like data engineer, even software engineer, automation engineer, that sort of thing, they're always going to be stackable. Like tech is always going to be king in a sense, right? Like it's always going to be king. Maybe it has gotten, you know, taken down a peg, a notch or two recently, because obviously back in 2021, we were the kings. We were like, jobs were being handed out left and right in the tech sector. So there has been a correction, but tech jobs, they're still kind of like the best in a sense, right? However, non-tech jobs still perfectly able to stack them. I'd say stuff like business analysts, financial analysts, What else? Even stuff like project management, digital marketing, for instance.
Content.
Digital marketing is a big one. It's the remote, remote
Mm,
native almost.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so business analyst, finance, compliance stuff, like compliance analyst, and like you said, sales, right? Like those are the big non-technical, like lower barriers to entry jobs to break in, and so they're gonna carry it like tech. So the split is gonna be this, right? Like more people are gonna be going for the non-remote job, or sorry, the non-technical jobs, right? So by percentage is going to be more, but the people in the tech jobs are going to have an easier time to stack them. To actually get the 3 jobs, the 4 jobs, the 5 jobs, right? But it's going to be fewer people because it's more difficult. Like you can't funnel. Like it's a little bit more difficult. But there's a future for both. I don't see a pattern. I'm not seeing the future that only it seems like only tech is going to be remote. I think remote work is going to win in the end. I think it's already won. It's just a matter of like you know the formalities of the last few employers that will do the RTO thing, which will mostly be big prestigious employers, right? Um, so I think there's an opportunity for a lot of fields to function, that are going to be remote, and if you can be remote, you can stack jobs.
Good, good. Great to hear that there's a future for both technical and non-technical. Cool.
Hmm.
So we'll get to wrapping up. Rolf, where can people find you, sign up for your mentorship, and all the different ways people can work with
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you for letting me show my stuff. Right now, I'm running a special promotion where you can schedule a one-on-one call with me, a one-on-one strategy session with me directly if you go to jobstacking.com/start now. And just fill the little form, like you're going to be able to schedule a call with me. And the purpose of this call is for me to basically sit down with you. You tell me, your goals, your current situation. Maybe are you hybrid? Do you want to land a remote job? Are you stacking 2 jobs and going crazy, right? Like you don't know how to manage the workload. You want to pivot careers, anything. You're going to get me. It's 100% me. It's not a coach. It's not somebody else. And there's a special promotion that I'm running only because usually a one-on-one session with me is $600 an hour. I'm for a limited time is only going to be $27 to get a one-on-one call with me if you go to jobstacking.com start now. If you like my social media, I have the brand, job stacking stuff. You have job_stacking on Twitter. You have at job stacking on Instagram as well. You have the YouTube channel, which is the job stacking, at job stacking, and Twitter. My personal Twitter is at Rolf Halza. So my name and last name, actually my middle name and my last name. And also on LinkedIn. So I've been a little bit more active on LinkedIn, taking advantage of the positioning stuff. So if you search for Rolf Halza on LinkedIn, you can also find me there.
Love it. And for anyone who made it all the way to the end of the episode, be sure to mention My Latin Life, so that Rolf and Job Stacking will treat you real nice. And highly recommend it. Cool. So we'll get to wrapping it there. This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Rolf Halza, Job Stacking. Link in the description to book a call with those guys. And be sure to follow the My Latin Life podcast if you're not already. Wherever you listen to this, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, be sure you're subscribed. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Rolf, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now.